Good morning, everyone. This is Diane. I have a new cookbook journal in my shop. This one is a binder. It's a very old binder from 1931, and it's my Better Homes and Gardens cookbook. And I just love this cover. It kind of looks like Art Deco, and it is from 1931, so I'm sure it has that influence. And it's got the black and the pretty green and silver, and the font just looks Art Deco to me. Every recipe tested in the Better Homes and Gardens Tasting Test Kitchen. I'm sorry for my voice. I'm a little hoarse this morning. It is it's not very early in the day, but I just got up because I had a bad night, and I want to get this video in before I have to go get my grandsons. So I'm a little rough. My throat's a little rough today. There's some silver writing on the spine also. It was in good condition, except that up here was cracking a little bit, and this just felt a little weak. So I reinforced it with some vintage flea market. No, feed sack fabric. And then this really, really pretty vintage crochet. I just wrapped around this top part to give it a little extra reinforcing. Before we go inside, I'm just going to tell you what will come with the book. I'm sending the extra pages that I removed from the binder. So all of these pages and tabs, I was hoping to put all the dividers in, but I couldn't. I had to take things out that I had intended to put in. But you get these. And some miscellaneous things like some handwritten recipes and the cut-off pieces from the papers, some large recipe cards. That's another cut-off piece. All these cut-offs. And then these pages were removed. These were going to be in the journal, but I took them out because it was too full. So that's a cookbook page. There's another. Oh, this is actually the introductory page. You can put that back in if you want to, but it's from the original book. And some of the pages, loose leaf pages that were, I think they were part of another book, and then another scrapbook page that I took out. So all of these will come with the book. I also want to point out, if you watched my video, there was only one preparation video that I did for this book, and I said I was going to include this. I even punched the holes and had it on the rings, but the book is too fat, and with the weakened spine, I didn't want to, I had to remove some stuff, and this is kind of thick with the metal pieces. So I'm not including this in the bundle. I want to keep it and put it in another journal. So just to let you know, that is not in the book. I'm so sorry for my throat. I didn't count the pages. There were over 50 pages, sheets, 50 sheets, until I took some out. So I don't know how many that leaves us with. I'll have to count them. This is a vintage image from a scrapbook, an old scrapbook. I don't know if it's Victorian era, but the other images that came out of that scrapbook were Victorian, so I don't know. It came, did I say it came from a seed catalog? And then I stamped this label and added it. I just love these vibrant colors with this pretty green. Even though this book is so old, the green is still so pretty. These, I mentioned in the previous video, they were bent. There's one in the front and one in the back. So I did glue that heavy plastic from the Tim Holtz stamps onto the back, and then I covered that up with a scrap of the scrapbook paper. And on this one, I added these words from one of the magazines. It says, "Make it better." This is a pocket that came with the binder, and it had this page in it so that you could give it to your friends and they could order this binder for themselves. And this message was written on the envelope. I just added this apron that I cut from a vintage apron pattern. And I added this from a vintage magazine. Tucked inside, I added an S&H green stamps book that's full. You can take this apart and use these to make embellishments in your book if you want to. And a vintage recipe card. Here is one of the divider pages, and I added a chenille pocket and a recipe card. Actually, yeah, I guess it's just one. It's a thick one. And some pages from a Hershey's chocolate cookbook. I just added a little embellishment up there. That's from an old cookbook. Culinary Arts Institute. This is a menu planning page from two of them from this cookbook. This is scrapbook paper, and I made this lady with my Cricut. She's wearing her apron and holding up a shopping list or recipes or something. And this also came from a magazine. It says, so it's better flavor you want. And there's a couple of handwritten recipes in here. Well, that one's typed. Oh, there's a pocket there. I didn't put anything in there, so I guess I'll leave that for you to fill in. I don't know if one of these recipe cards that I'm including will fit. So, yeah, I'll just let you figure that out. This is a glassine bag, and I cut this piece from an old tablecloth and glued it on there. I cut it out with pinking shears. I love the colors of that with this book. And this is a large recipe card from General Foods. I added a bread tag tab and a big recipe card or index card. There's a little journaling spot and a standard table of weights and measures. For this page, I added some of that shelf edging that I just got from the flea market. It's a vintage shelf edging. It was still in the package, so it's in really good shape. And I thought that was really fun to add to the edge of a page in this book. This is from a binder book that you were supposed to write your own recipes in. And so someone wrote on that, but there's room on the back to write. And it had holes in it because it was in a binder, but they didn't match up. So I added this strip of scrapbook paper and put new holes in it. There's another recipe card. I think this is from the General Foods collection. Tropical Ambrosia. Scrapbook paper, and then I took 3 pieces of scrapbook paper and sewed them together to make this pocket. And I added a vintage milk bottle cap. And there's another Hershey's booklet in here. The Story of Chocolate and Cocoa. And a 7-Up tag. This is from a vintage Root Drivers book selling milk and butter and cheese, cream. 1962 calendar, or 1960 calendar, sorry. Just got some cool pictures on it. You can write on this part. There's a little girl sitting in the meadow with a calf. I just thought that was the cutest picture. Beautiful flowers. This is from a booklet, or a paperback cookbook. It might have come from, I don't know, I was going to say maybe coffee, but I guess not, like a coffee pot. But it is talking about different types of coffee pots, but this page is talking about canning. I talked about this in the previous video. It came from an old magazine. I may be cute, but I'm not impractical. These divider cards have lines on the back that you can write on. This is wallpaper border with a recipe for corn casserole. One of the binder sheets, lined papers. This came from a little book. I saved the ones that had like a kitchen theme to them. I forgot the name of the lady that does these. I think her name is Ann something. But she has her refrigerator. This is from an old refrigerator ad, apparently. She had never guessed that cooking for one could be such a delight. And then that one says, it's a casserole, silly. This came from a little binder, and it's a tab, and it says salads. There's a newer recipe card from Grandma's Kitchen, cream chicken and biscuits. This is a recipe, or a set of recipes, cut from the back of a flour bag. I backed it with cardstock, and this piece of flour bag was in a collection of old recipes, recipe cards and cutouts and things like that. Another handwritten card, and then this is from the instructions of a pattern for making an apron. I put it on cardstock and added a gingham tab. I had mentioned in the other video that I wanted to use this phrase, everything's better with Bluebonnet on it, but I didn't know what picture to use. Well, I found this when I was looking through my collection of home ec nutritional cards, and I thought this was perfect. I put a photo sleeve on here that was from a photo album, and just tucked this in here. So it's a muffin with butter. I did find a little image from a vintage magazine of a package of Bluebonnet. So I forgot it. I left it in the other room where I was sorting things last night when I couldn't sleep. And I might add that to here. This is a large recipe card for cheesecake cookies and Gigi, I don't know what that is, G-I-G-I, and pineapple pudding dessert. I know Gigi is a movie with Maurice Chevalier in it. There's a paper clip that I made out of a Robin Hood flour bag from, well, it's from a magazine image. And this is a card I made a long time ago. This came off an old Hellman's jar. This was in a bunch of recipes too that I had gotten at the flea market. So I thought that was cute to add to that. There's a recipe or a definition for jars, a pieced together tag, and coffee dyed paper on the back. You can move things around in this book any way you want to. You might want to take some pages out. I didn't want to take any more out. I wanted them all in here, but it is a little bit thicker than it should be. But if you're okay with that, leave everything in. But if you're going to want to glue stuff in, you're probably going to have to take some things out. Here's another divider with a fabric flip. These pieces are from old tablecloths. This is from the Saucy Paper Pad paper collection, which is the scrapbook paper that I'm using in this book. That's one of the sheets. And this is a casserole dish that I cut with my Cricut, and a tag that I made for the previous journals that didn't get used. A coupon shopping list, which is really fun. There's lots of space there for writing. And inside this envelope, you will find this folded up page you can write on. Recipe card from Cultured Buttermilk Powder. A watermelon recipe card. A handwritten recipe on a little piece of paper. And another handwritten recipe card. Here's a divider with a nice thick blue vintage divider card. And I added this piece of embroidered ribbon with fruit on it. Put a journaling card on the back. This is an image from an old magazine, and so is this. They did not come together, but I put them together. She's having a problem with whatever it is she's making. She got her elbow in the pie plate. The dough isn't working properly. But Betty Crocker says, I guarantee a perfect cake every time you bake. Cake after cake after cake. And then I made this tag with some scraps and this image from a cookbook. It's a bag of flour. Just a journaling thing, and a die cut image that I made. This is a digital from KB and Friends. I did some stamping on that. This page is from a vintage cookbook. I love the colors on this image. This is from a sewing pattern, vintage sewing pattern for an apron. I added some vintage rickrack and a vintage applique. There's a recipe card tucked behind it and another one of those pages to write on. And this tag, this lady, is an illustration from a vintage apron pattern. And she's saying, "Eat your vegetables." I embossed the large tag, added this edge punch strip and this stamped mixer. This is a fun item. This is a vintage matchbook, but it's advertising Hunt's tomato sauce. The matches were already removed from it, and it has a recipe for mock lamb chops, but I just added these little cut-off pieces and stapled it closed, so you have a little tablet to write on. And the paper clip isn't attached. You can remove that, but I just clipped it through the back, and you can clip it to your page. And I added this bridge score sheet, which I was going to include in the book, bound in, because it has, I punched holes and put rings on it, but I just clipped it on there instead. Like I said, you move things around the way you want. Take things out. I made some tabs with my Stampin' Up! Tab punch, and I have a set of stamps to go with those tab punches from back when the punch was still available in the catalog. So I stamped those images on blue cardstock and then punched out. So we have 3 tabs with 3 of the designs from that set. This is a little tag that you can open up and write on. It's got a slot there. And this little printable image, I'm not sure where I got it. Might have been from the old design shop in one of her sets. Here's another page from from that book. It says she liked to stir things up. This woman is apparently getting a card table and chairs for Christmas, and it says, okay, so the family wasn't functional, but at least their gifts were. Another General Foods recipe card for butterscotch mincemeat pie. Here's another scrapbook paper with another of the shelf edgings. I picked up 2 different shelf edgings at the flea market just this week. So I put a piece of each one here, and there's another piece of chenille as a pocket with some fringe, and a little recipe book for Miro, the little cookie press. The only thing I make with my cookie press are the spritz cookies, and they are so good. See if the recipe's in here for you. I'm sure it is. Must be. You can make all kinds of things with that. Well, I'm not going to keep looking because I'm sure it's in there. Here's another one of the glassine bags with a piece of the tablecloth. These designs on the tablecloth were in squares, so they were bigger than this bag, so I just used pinking shears to cut them down to size. And there's another apron instruction piece in there, and another colored recipe card. An Uno scorecard, another page with a fabric flip, and I added this envelope. It's not vintage, it's from Target, and I put this little tag in the pocket. This came from an old cookbook. And here's another tag that I made with the root book page on it. This came from a vintage magazine. And this paper clip has a Jell-O pudding box on it. There's another one of those tabs that I stamped. Now I think these cards came, it says National Food Management Service, and I think it may have been in an institution or something, or maybe even a restaurant, because some of the cards had recipes, had like instructions for, like there was one for assembling sandwiches. With your left hand lay out 8 pieces, and your right hand is spreading. You know, it was like how to do things efficiently in large quantities. So it was something like that. This page is about canned fruits and the sizes of the cans, the weights, and how much, like cups or quart-wise, might be in the cans. So it looks like it would be for some sort of institution or restaurant. This is an image from a 1930s magazine of a lady using cornmeal and making cornbread. Love that image. That's the original page from the magazine. I made a little cluster here. And this toaster was made with my Cricut. It's got some recipe cards. I put a little die-cut floral corner there. A Scattergories game sheet. This was like a picture card that a school would have used. One of the large picture cards that I had. And I made a little pocket on the back. It's got a couple of flashcards, peach and lettuce, and this little recipe card that was actually a cutoff from this scrapbook paper. Another vintage cookbook page. And on the back, it was a contents page. I just glued this on from a vintage magazine. I just love the vibrant colors, and they were perfect with the images that I put on the front and back. And this came from a cookbook, Bright Vegetables Make Snappy Trims. So I think it was showing how to make pretty things. Garnishes, that's the word, with vegetables. But I put it here because you get a whole bunch of vegetables there. There's the wallpaper border with chicken roll-ups recipe. This card has gala garnishes, American Indian chutney, pickled prunes, and prune breakfast. So I guess that's probably made with, yeah, these are all prunes. But I put it there, and this came from a cookbook, Picture Pretty Garnishes. I made this pocket, well, I started to. I did sew the recipe card to the pocket, but I had it all assembled in how I was going to do it in a video. She's made with my Cricut. 1970s recipe card. As you can see, I decided to not glue her down, but I did glue her elbow to keep it from popping up too much. And a couple of Betty Crocker recipe card. Somebody's calling me. Sorry about that. And here's the other piece that I added, plastic. This is quite thick and heavy now. I glued the plastic to the side that had the writing on it. So the side was just plain. I didn't mean to, but the writing on it was just other Better Homes and Gardens books you could look for. It was like an advertisement for their books. So I just added some embellishments there and my signature there. And that's the scrapbook paper I covered the plastic with. Here is another piece from that scrapbook, these big tomatoes. I'm glad I finally had a place to put these very large images, and I just think they're perfect for this book. And this little card here says happy ending. This book was really fun to make. I hope you like it. And like I said, if you get it, you can take pages out It is your book to do with as you wish. I wanted to take some more pages out, but I didn't know what to remove, so I'm going to let you make that decision. So there we go. This is now available in my shop. I'm taking a break from making cookbook journals for a while, but if you would like to make your own cookbook journal, I will be listing, hopefully tomorrow, I will be listing some cookbook related items in my shop. I have a couple of large recipe books and some like journal kits without the cookbook covers, journal kits and shelf edging, and a bundle of large recipe cards. So I'm going to be listing them in my shop hopefully tomorrow. We'll see. I don't have any, I've got things gathered up, but I haven't videoed or photographed or anything yet. We'll just see what happens. So, thanks for watching. I hope that you liked this book. It was a pleasure to make. And I will see you in the next video. Have a creative day today. Bye-bye.